Hello and welcome to another episode of Tinsanz. We at Vincent Academy of Film and Media extend heartfelt greetings on the occasion of the 72nd year of the Indian Republic. As children in school, I'm sure we've all had our share of civics lessons, where we were taught about fundamental rights, duties, about social justice, social equality. But does textbook teaching really make a difference? And in spite of all those civics lessons that we've had, are we really the citizens today that our country deserves? Well, there is one organization that does just that. CMCA, or the Children's Movement for Civic Awareness, is a Bengaluru-based non-profit organization that raises children to be civic warriors by equipping them with knowledge about social justice, social equality, fundamental rights, democratic values that help them grow into ideal citizens of our country. In the light of Republic Day, which is a day that honors the Indian Constitution, today we have with us Mrs. Vinodini Lulla, the Trustee of CMCA, with whom we shall talk about how the NGO came into force, how they shape young minds to become responsible adults, and also hear some really inspiring stories of how the NGO has made a great impact. Hello ma'am, welcome to Tinsanz. So my first question to you is, what was the driving force that led to the inception of this organization? And why focus on children rather than adults or even teenagers for that matter?
My name is Vinodini Lulla. I am a trustee of CMCA, that stands for Children's Movement for Civic Awareness. This is an NGO that started 20 years ago in Bangalore, and today we are present in over 10 cities, 400 villages all over India. And what we do is we are really trying to transform the young into being thinking, active, and concerned citizens of this country. We started with a very simple cycle rally that was organized by two NGOs, Public Affairs Center and Swabhimana. This was in Bangalore in the year 2000. And the idea was to get a whole rally of children and make them more aware of the need to be more clean and green and so on. And then we realized that a simple rally is not going to do the job, and we need to engage with them in a more sustained manner, give them knowledge, give them confidence, motivate them. And that's how the whole concept of a civic club program in schools started. So we started off with about, I think, 10 or 14 schools in Bangalore. And today we are in over 600 educational institutions. So the idea was, why go through children? Why couldn't we teach adults? That may well be the question. So the thing is, we always find that adults are the first to complain and the last to do anything about a problem. So you'll always find adults complaining about the roads are bad, they don't do this, they don't do that. It's a constant complaint. They're never doing anything. Sometimes they're not even fulfilling their own responsibilities, and they're guilty themselves of, littering or wasting water or leaving taps open, not voting, things like that. So we thought, let's go to children for various reasons. First of all, children are young, and they're like sponges that absorb anything that an adult says. So you teach them young and you have great citizens for life. Yeah, that's one. Second, they have a huge power over adults. So if a child has to tell an adult that, hey, please go and vote in the coming elections, chances are that the adult will listen, rather than if I had to go and say, hey, why aren't you voting? Please vote. Yeah. So that's the power that children have. And we thought that's really the best way to shake up the citizenry that was just lying dormant, apathetic, and not doing anything about problems that existed in their own city or in their own country. So that's really the genesis of CMC and why we started it.
Ma'am, do you have any stories or incidents when you realized your organization was making an impact, or when you thought that your efforts have been paid off? We would love to hear about them.
I think the stories that really amaze us and which really make us feel that yes, we are doing the right thing and what we are doing is so important is when we hear stories like, for example, boys and girls who were in a classroom in Mysore. Yeah, they were in a government classroom, and typically classroom benches are so overcrowded and there's not enough place for children to sit. And one day, our CMCA educator was taking a session on equality, gender equality, and so on and so forth. So, until then, what used to happen in the class is that the boys would sit on the benches and the girls would be sitting on the floor because there wasn't enough place for everyone to sit. So, this whole classroom session happened on gender equality and so on. And in the next session, when the educator went to the classroom, the children said that we have decided from now onwards, we are going to take turns to sit on the floor. It will no longer be only girls sitting on the floor, but even the boys will sit on the floor. So one day boys, one day girls, one day boys, one day girls. So that is the kind of impact that we are looking for, and that really makes us feel that yes, we are making an amazing difference. Then there is another story of a child whose classmate was getting married. 13-year-old was being forced to get married. This child knew that it was wrong, it's illegal, and even though the parents were forcing it on the child. So we give helpline numbers, we tell children about their rights, and if something is wrong, who can you approach? See, that's the whole thing about local government and civics and taking responsibility. You have to know who to approach, then only I can take action. So we give helpline numbers, and for stories like this, on abuse and so on, for cases like this, we give the helpline number of Childline. That's the 1098 number. So coming back to the story, this child whose classmate was getting married called up Childline helpline, called up 1098 and said, look, my friend is being forced to get married. Promptly Childline people came and they talked to the parents, they advised and counseled the parents and made sure that the wedding didn't take place for a young 13-year-old. Yeah. Then of course we have the popular story of Lavanya, who is this little child in Tumkur district in Karnataka, who didn't have a toilet in her house. She learnt in CMCA that it is important to have a toilet for your own health and sanitation, and more importantly that there are funds available in the panchayat to build a toilet. So if you are poor and don't have the funds, you can approach the government. She told her father. Father typically said, yeah, okay, forget about it, I don't know what you learn in school, etc. And, kind of dismissed it. This child went on a hunger strike, didn't eat food, till the father went to the panchayat, got the funds, and he got, of course, a toilet built thereafter. And this young girl, Lavanya, was so excited, she went and told the whole village about it. In that same village, 60 other people built toilets, and the word spread to other villages, and more people built toilets. And today, I am told she is one of the brand ambassadors for Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. So this is what I'm saying. This is the power of this one child. Yeah, though the father was not willing to listen initially, but he had to. And this is the child that went and told 60 other people, and they all built toilets. So that's the kind of power we are looking at. So there are hundreds of such stories that we have from all over the country. And that is what gives us so much hope and so much confidence that yes, indeed, we can transform the young and make them to be better citizens. Then we can have a better India.
That's just amazing. I'm sure stories like these motivate you even further to continue your work. We recently celebrated our 72nd Republic Day, and it is a day that celebrates our Indian Constitution. How do you impart the meaning of the Constitution, or make children understand what it stands for, or make them live it on a day-to-day basis?
Values which are there in the Constitution of India, values of equality, social justice, liberty. These are words which are taught in a civics classroom which nobody really understands. And when we say that, oh, the local government will do something. Who is the local government? Does anybody even know? Half the people think that, oh, if I voted for the elections where I voted for the prime minister, that's it. But nobody thinks about the state level, the local corporator level, or the village level. People are not really aware. So that is what we do now in our CMCA sessions. We really bring the whole civics book alive, and we make it real and we make it tangible, so that even a 12-year-old or a 14-year-old can actually understand what is the meaning of equality, what do we mean by social justice, what does liberty mean. It's not like a standard textbook line that you mug up and you answer in a question. No, it's about a situation that may exist in your life, and how do I react on aspects of liberty, equality, justice. I may not be thinking these words, but these are the factors which are playing out in real life, and that's what we teach children. So we give situations, we give case studies, and make them realize that yes, these are important issues, and these are things about which even I, as a teenager, can make a difference.
Today's world has become very cynical and impassive, where one believes that everything is beyond repair, and it's better to be a part of it rather than reform it. So how do we bring up the next generation to make them believe that there is a way that they can make a difference?
We've also, for example, introduced another module called personal integrity. What does that mean? So again, it's very easy to say, oh, this government is so corrupt, people are so corrupt, people just want bribes, nobody works without a bribe. People say these things like, okay, maybe there's some truth to it, partial truth to it, whatever. But how honest are you? What are the little things that you may have done which are not 100% truthful? We have a workshop, we have a session where we give lots of examples, real world situations, where we force the individual to actually look within. It need not be something big, it could be a very small thing. But when we talk about integrity of a nation, of a country, it begins with me. Because there's me, there's my friends, my family, each one of us can make up the whole nation, right? So if I am not going to be personally very honest, then who am I to point a finger at somebody else? So yeah, personal integrity is another new topic that we've introduced. Because we also find it's not only very rampant, the lack of integrity, but it's also a very important life skill that is necessary, especially when you go to the workplace and so on. So you read about people cheating in exams, you hear about people padding up their CVs when they apply for a job. So we want children to be aware that these are not things which are to be done, and how it can impact their own life too in the future.
Well, be the change you want to see in the world. How true is that? Moving on to my next question. It is always easier to talk to adults about terms like justice, social equality, etc. But not very easy when it comes to children. So how do you go on about explaining such jargon or complex terms while talking to children?
Our educators, they go every week and they teach children. And most of these educators are volunteers, and it's amazing to see their passion and what they bring to the table, because that is what eventually transforms the child and makes that big difference. Because we have a curriculum also that's fantastic, it's very interactive, it's not a boring lecture, because that's the last thing the children want to hear. So there are stories, there's role play, there's games, there's group work. Because how can you talk about, let's say, equality or justice or even religious tolerance if you don't make the child understand from within? So that's why we need them to do a role play and see what happens over there. Conflict resolution. It's easy to say, just talk it out and sort out your issues. But when you are in that situation and when you are going through a so-called argument or a fight, that's when you realize how difficult it is, and you know what needs to be done to take that extra one step forward, which will end in a conciliatory decision rather than in a conflict. So that is how we are making children understand these things. And you know, the wonderful thing is that even today, after so many years, children come back to us and say, we've never forgotten what you taught us, and we still remember some of those things that we did. And apart from that, we give them very hands-on experience in terms of projects that they do. So it's easy to say, find out what the issues are in the school and let's set them right. No. So we break the whole classroom into teams. One team will study electricity, one team will study infrastructure, one team will study, say, water and sanitation. And we give them a list of questions which act like a set of audit questions. So they go and check for themselves, are these lights working? Are these fans working? Are these taps working? Are there enough dustbins? Then they know, once they have that knowledge, then they know that, this doesn't exist or this is not working and this is what we need to set right. So, this is like a real life lesson that we are giving them on what to look for also in your neighborhood or in your country. Because if a footpath is broken or a street light is not working or there's no water supply, no electricity supply, then who you can go and complain to and who you need to talk to sort out these issues. So these are the real life lessons we are giving children.
Ma'am, my last question to you is, in today's changing times, I think even the kinds of crimes that are taking place are changing. And today we have virtual crimes like privacy stealing or fake news or similar information related crimes. So how do you prepare children to face and overcome these virtual crimes?
So like I mentioned, over the years, our curriculum has changed in terms of what we include in our sessions and what we don't. Earlier, it was about cleaning, greening, water. Then we introduced the concepts of justice, equality, etc. As I said, in a manner that the child can understand. Yeah. Today, we have other things to worry about also, like fake news, for example. Not that gender equality and so on are done with. No, they're not. They're very important. But fake news is big and it is really having dramatic effects on people, because people are seeing videos, people are reading news on WhatsApp which are not necessarily true, sometimes even on television which are not necessarily the absolute truth, and they are doing things which they should not be doing, including lynching people, killing people, all kinds of things. We read that, right, in the newspapers. So it's a huge problem, not just in India but all over the world. And we in CMCA also realize that we need to address these issues. So we have now introduced a session in schools and in colleges where we talk about, how fake news gets spread, how the same news item can be said in different ways depending on who you are and what you want the other person to think. And therefore, if I'm the recipient of some news, what can I do? Because if I receive a WhatsApp forward, I don't know if it's true or if it's false. So what can I do to ensure that it is the truth? And before I forward it to 100 other people or before I take any action. So we give them tips on how to check for fake news, how to check the veracity of information, which sites to visit, who to ask. And only then should you either be forwarding that message or taking some action or, even commenting on it for that matter. So yes, we are changing with the times in terms of what is needed. But as we know, things like patriarchy, things like caste, things like inequality, these have been here with us for thousands and thousands of years. So these are not concepts that we are going to stop teaching ever, I think. Because in one way or the other, these need to be addressed. The situations may vary, the context may vary, but the point of patriarchy, equality, justice will remain forever, and we will continue teaching that.
Fantastic. What an insightful conversation that was. Getting to know the organization and the phenomenal work that they do. But the most heartening, I'm sure, were the stories of the children who have imbibed these values and have made such positive impact. We at Vincent Academy of Film and Media wish CMCA great luck with their significant work. As they say, the one who moves mountains starts by moving pebbles. We certainly hope you will transform India for the better, one child at a time. As for our viewers, if you enjoyed the episode, please like and share. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. And if you have done any work or service that has made a difference in your neighborhood, city, or even state, do share it with us in the comment section below. We will now meet again next Friday. Until then, stay safe and keep smiling.